What happens on day two after the AI demo, after the excitement, after everyone's in love with Baby Tiger? Today, Noel Russell, employee number 10 on Amazon Alexa, founder of AI Leadership Institute, almost a million views on her TED Talk. Let's get into it. My guest today is Noel. I'm so excited to talk to her.
Yay, thank you so much for having me.
Noel, thank you for joining us. Tell our listeners about your journey and how did you become one of the topmost AI leader?
Yes, thank you so much. I'm Noelle Russell. I have a company called the AI Leadership Institute that I have a community that I drive a bunch of people to learn more about artificial intelligence. My heart is in building responsible AI systems at scale for both mid-sized companies, but also some of the largest companies in the world. My journey into AI started about a little over 12 years ago when I got an opportunity to join Amazon Alexa. I was employee 10 on the Alexa skills team, got a chance to build out hundreds of applications for Alexa. It's kind of interesting because today we know what skills are related to like Claude and some of these other products. But skills are actually very, have been around for over a decade. And Alexa was one of the first to create that concept. So, yeah, from Amazon Alexa, I went to Microsoft. I got to help build and launch cognitive services and Microsoft AI. I got an opportunity to be a beta tester on ChatGPT during COVID. So I've been connected to launching in production lots and lots of AI systems, and that's where I get a lot of my experience. So today I focus on helping businesses, helping clients build successful, profitable, but also safe, secure, and private AI systems that serve everybody.
Wow, that's an exciting journey. I'm curious, what do you see change in the journey from the Alexa days when you started with playing those products were not even called AI at that time?
That's right.
And now, how did it all evolve? How do you see AI right now? And what's your vision? What do you see the future of AI will be?
Yes, it is fascinating the journey that we've been on over the last decade. I will say I have 6 kids, and I often think about it like vegetables, trying to feed vegetables to children, right? So in the early days of Alexa, I was constantly talking about like, you need this, you should eat this, it's good for you. AI is going to help your business, AI is going to help your teams. But it was very hard to get. I mean, I spent a lot of time talking about the art of the possible and building demos and explaining to people what their world could look like. Now we have a product that everybody has used, right? ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Copilot. It's immersed in everything everyone uses every day. So it's not just trying to get data scientists and technical leaders to learn how to use AI. It's like business owners, technical leaders, technical project managers, user experience, research designers, marketers, salespeople, like everybody is now looking for opportunities to use AI. So I found over the last decade that I always say learning by doing has been kind of the velocity, right? Like we are now, rather than waiting to understand something, we just go to a model like ChatGPT or Claude and we just ask for what we want and it gives it to us, which is an amazing opportunity. But one of the challenges with that, of course, is understanding what good looks like and understanding what safe and secure AI systems look like. And so that's what I spend a lot of time now between, the early days of AI where we were just trying to get people excited about it. Now everyone's excited about it, but now we're trying to get them to think, okay, how do we build this safely and securely for everyone?
Building safely and securely has lot of nuances. I feel I don't trust the systems I'm using so many times. And like we always see what is OpenClaw, like it has huge potential. But I have not yet installed it on my personal computer because I'm worried. I'm not giving it access to my email which I'm using. How do you define security in this space?
Absolutely. And actually, I use a bit of an analogy. You can see this little guy right here, my little baby tiger. So I often say when people start using AI systems in their company, it's like a baby tiger, right? Super cute, adorable, right? Like you get a new note taker and you're like, oh my gosh, it takes notes and it identifies users and creates action items. This is amazing. Like early use of AI typically ends up creating lots and lots of incredible value for the organization. However, at this stage, when it's small and cute, it's incredibly important to ask certain questions like, how big are you going to be? Well, how are you going to grow up, or what are you going to eat, or where are you going to live, and who's going to take care of you. Usually we're so excited about the cute like AI system. No one's really thinking about what happens on day 2. Like they're just all consumed with the adorableness of the AI systems. And that's the job of AI, is to get us to be excited, to get us to use it. But the job of a leader, and that's why, you and I have a lot in common, the job of a leader is to stop for a second and just say, okay, how are we going to use this? What problem can we solve with this? And how do we do it safely and securely? And so safety and security often just represents a line of questioning that a leader will ask, right? How does this model know what truth is? What is the organizational data? Where are we getting that information? How do we make sure that only the right people are using this system? One of the biggest challenges companies run into when they build an AI system is that they don't think about who should have access. We call it the principle of least privilege, right? When you build an AI system, you should give it the least possible capability it can. That's why you're worried about OpenClaw, because you're like, wait, I'm giving it all the privilege, right? But we want to look at a system, and let's say I want to create, which is one of my dreams, to create a travel agent that knows all of the nuances of how I travel, right? All the different things. I'm willing to travel on United, but only in first class. I'll travel on Delta, but only if I can get upgraded, right? Like there's all of these nuances to my travel, where I like to stay, rooms I like to be in. And so I want to be able to give that to an AI system and have it book the perfect travel for me every single time. But that means that I have this responsibility to tell it. I also do not want that travel agent to be doing my taxes or submitting healthcare claims. Like, I want to build an AI system and only give it access to the very thing that it needs in order to do its job. And that's what most people get wrong, is that they overprivilege it. And then the model now is all of a sudden doing things we didn't expect. And we're wondering why. But the reason why is because we didn't tell it anything different. The burden is on us as leaders to really control it.
Yeah, and I saw your TED talk where you exactly talk about how you were the go-to person where everybody around the team will come and say, "Hey, have you thought about this? Or what is the worst thing can happen? And how can we like plan for future for this product?"
Yes. Yeah, we just hit like 900,000 views of the TED Talk. So I'm super excited. Almost at a million. But absolutely. Yes, this concept. And I call it actually a symphony of talent. How important it is when you're building an AI system to surround yourself, not just you and what you're building and what you think is cool, but how do you surround yourself with not only people that represent the end user of the thing you're building, but just diversity of thought, right? Like, people who would come to and use this model in different ways that'll help you make sure that you're building for everyone. Because that was one of the big things with Alexa. When we built it, we didn't even know it would be used in hospitals. We didn't think it would be used in schools, but it ended up being used in both. It's used in academia, all these places where we originally built it for the kitchen. So the more diverse you can be, the more likely you are to build a system that can scale and serve many, many more people than you're thinking about.
Yeah, I'm sure this TED talk will go like double, triple easily. Like with this
Yes.
place, it's such a beautiful talk, so relevant in current day.
Yay, thank
And
you.
I'm curious, like, how do you think about responsible AI for small business, medium business versus large business? What are the things with the agentic AI right now when everybody is creating startups? Y Combinator just got this huge funding from ChatGPT saying that now they can go and code more faster. And I'm curious, what does responsible AI looks like for a 2% team, 50% team versus 1,000% team?
Absolutely. I mean, the good news is that the architecture, the principles are the same. So in my book that I wrote, I talk about this framework called Lead AI, and it's basically the initial thought process that goes into using AI, regardless of your business size. And it stands for number one, leadership, right? Recognizing that now we are in a world where you might be leading humans, but you're definitely going to be leading machines, and the leadership of machines requires much more clarity, much more clear definition of what an AI system will do. Also, and so that's the leadership piece, is that now as the person using, building, and delivering AI, I have to be a much better leader. I have to be much more clear about what I want and how I'm going to measure success. The A stands for AI governance. How am I going to, once I decide what I'm going to do, how do I measure that it's doing it correctly? How do I keep an eye on this baby tiger and make sure it doesn't go rogue or start doing things that I don't expect? So having governance and policies in place. Every company, doesn't matter if you're 2 people or 10 people, the machine doesn't know that it's only serving you two. And you'll only be two for as long as you decide, right? Like as you grow your business, you're going to add more people, more vendors, more contractors. And so you want to make sure that you're doing this for the size of the problem you're solving, not necessarily the size of your team. So we have leadership, we have AI policy and governance, and then the E stands for ethics, right? So I want to make sure that I'm building in ethical guardrails, ethical guidelines to how I want my system to perform. So I use a terminology or technology called constitutional AI, right? So constitutional AI means I'm going to develop my core values and what I care about into an AI system. So when I start building features, I'm going to have all of those things running through my constitutional AI system, and it's going to say, I love this, Noelle. You're doing a great job. However, it is in conflict with the leadership principles that you've set, or it's in conflict with the core values that you've identified. I want an AI system reviewing everything all the time, keeping me in alignment with the mission and the promises that I'm making. And then finally, D stands for designing with inclusivity. And what that means is like that symphony of talent. I want to make sure that when I build an AI system, I design it with the people I'm building for at the beginning, not the end. Many times in technology, we build technology and we'll build it first, and then we lob it over to the user and go, what do you think? Well, AI doesn't work well that way. It likes to have the influence of who we're building for as soon as possible so that we can train it on that data as soon as possible, making the model more effective. So leadership, right? Ethics, AI policy and governance, designing with inclusivity. These are like just core values that whether you're a 2 person or 2,000 person or quarter of a million person organization, these are the things that everyone in the organization needs to be aligned on to ensure that they're successful.
You hit so many chords, and I'm getting so many thoughts in my
I
brain that
know.
I need to ask. Particularly, I want to start by how do I make sure that when I'm training these machines to think, is this the right thing to train these machines on? I feel like in Amazon we had these 6 pages model where we
Yes.
write a big document and we start working back from that document. These days there is no time to think. We are trying to get machine talk to each other, think to each other, and have them like brainstorm each other, and in process there is lot of noise which gets generated.
Yes.
How do we create a better thinking process and streamline the noise versus signal?
Yes. So I love this concept of a 6 pager. And of course, there's six, there's three, there's one, and there's an evolution there. And so now I say we still want to do the same thing. We're adjusting the scope because that's ultimately what takes a long time is that we're biting off this huge amount of implementation that we're trying to do. And in the world that we're in that's moving fast, that means we have to shrink the scope of what we're doing. So I created a term called minimum remarkable product. And this means that when you start building something, you're not going to build for viability. Anyone can build for viability today. Like a 14-year-old can vibe code an entire solution that's viable. What we're looking for is how do you leverage the data you already know about a problem to actually create something that's remarkable to the user, something super small that's remarkable, and it creates a flywheel, right? So you create this small, remarkable thing. Now you do have time, right? It takes you now instead of, 6 meetings and 6 pages and all of that, now you can have a 15-minute meeting, or worse, or better, you could have no meeting at all and just have this exchange in a channel on Teams, right? Or in a Slack channel and say, here's what I'm thinking. Here's why I think it's remarkable and we should do it. And here's the data that grounds it. And now you just build that. And so you have the ability to actually ground your ideas in a data-driven approach, but you're not trying to boil the ocean. You're not trying to build, a full application. You're thinking, what's one thing that I could build today that would make this the problem, right? Allow me to address this problem, provide a solution to this problem, but a very micro level. And that allows us to move faster because as soon as I get one problem, now I can go into the next. Sometimes I solve a new problem in a day. Sometimes it's in a week, sometimes it's in an hour. And so I'm able to go through this iteration dozens of times per day, hundreds of times per week, right? And I'm actually able to build bigger, better systems over time than I ever could have done in the old way we used to think, which is how do we kind of think about everything at once and wait till every duck is lined up and in a row before we launch? We don't have to do that now. We can build small, meaningful, incrementally, documented, and that gives us space to actually go and build that from something small to something much bigger over time.
I'll switch gears a little bit and talk about one of the things you teach is 5 P's principle framework.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe can you tell more about our listeners how they can incorporate 5 P's principle in their way when they are developing more AI?
Yes, absolutely. So, as many people have uncovered, we're moving into this world of prompt engineering, right? And prompt engineering is the way that we talk to a machine. But before we get into the 5 P's, I always like to remind people that we are in a world where you don't want to be a kind of a consumer of AI. You don't want to be in vending machine mode. You don't want to be like talking to AI, give me this, give me that, generate a LinkedIn post for me, create this email, edit this resume, right? You don't want to just ask it. Instead, you want to become a producer, which means you're going to tell the model what good looks like. You're going to tell the model how to build a correct answer for you instead of just asking. Every single model has instructions. Someone, a data scientist, a product team, someone has trained a model, Claude and any of the models at Anthropic, ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, they've all got a set of instructions that are inherent to the model. However, if you want to be a producer and maximize the use of the models that you have, you're going to become the producer, which means you're going to go into the settings of the model, not in the prompt. You're going to go into the settings of the model and you're going to tell the model how to behave. And so the 5 P's starts with the first thing I'm going to tell the model to do is here's the purpose of this model. Now I say model like an AI model, but it could also, you could consider it an agent, right? Or a skill. The first thing you're going to do with an agent, a skill, or an AI model is tell it what is its purpose. This could be a role that you give it, right? Your purpose is to be a, expert marketing, copywriter, and your job is to create hyper engaging content that drives traffic to a website, right? You're going to give it a role, give it a task, and be very clear about it. That's the first P, purpose. Once you've defined the purpose, the next thing you're going to do is tell the model who it's serving, right? When I build the answer, right? When the model starts building the answer, who is it building it for? Who's the audience for the output that you're asking it to generate? This is very important because it allows the model to understand what your end game is. What are you trying to actually get done? And then the third one, which is probably my favorite and most people get wrong, is that I want to provide it a portfolio of examples, right? So the first P is purpose. The second P is people, the audience. The third P is portfolio. A set of examples, both here's good examples of what good will look like when you do this work, and here's some bad examples. This is what we hoped, like a dealership recently, right? Got in trouble because they created a AI model and that AI model sold a truck for $1, a $50,000 truck through a chatbot, sold it to a customer for $1. That's a mistake. Obviously, we don't want that. But the way we avoid that is when we build these examples, we're like, by the way, don't sell cars for $1. Only use the price sheet, right? Giving these instructions, these guardrails to the system. I always like to give you another way. Some people are not 3 Ps, 5 P people. So another way to think about it is what I call RTEC, right? RTEC. So you could do the role, the task, right? The examples, good and bad, and the constraints. These are all examples of advanced prompting techniques, and you can ask a model to help you understand and learn these. But I share it with everyone listening and watching because I think it's so valuable to realize if you're just saying, hey, model, give me this, do this for me, you're missing out on a richness, right, in the system that you can achieve if you just take a few more minutes and give it much more context. That's why the term now, instead of prompt engineering, it's called context engineering because we want to provide a lot more context to get much more richer outcomes.
Awesome. I'm curious when we are trying to provide much more context. I keep running into issue about like Claude limits,
Yes.
ChatGPT limit, and then AI is all reaching its threshold where I'm getting bottlenecked by all the media like tokens and all
Yeah.
that. So, how do I use the framework effectively with all the constraints of the models trying to upsell me, like buy their paid version plan, which is much more expensive, and trying to like upgrade me to say, yes, it is more effective. I've used it, but I don't like
But
if I'm
you
not.
burn through credits like that. Yeah, absolutely. And so there is a two-step technique that actually you can see a company uses this today called Lovable, right? So there's a two-step technique that you can use. One is that you use a smaller model, a cheaper model, a GPT-4 one, right? A GPT Nano. You use a smaller model to plan what you're trying to do, and that way, when you distinguish between the building and the planning, and you could do planning for much cheaper. So there's a platform called Lovable that does this in order to reduce the impact of the number of tokens you have. So obviously it's really cool that the newest Claude model has 1 million token context window. That was like when we first heard it, we're like, everyone flocked to it. And then we realized if you put 1 million tokens into the context window, it eats up all your tokens. And now you are paying much more than you ever were, and all you've done is pass in the information. It hasn't even answered you yet, right? So, when we think about 1 million token context window, we think, wow, we could give it all this information, but we didn't really think through like, wait, I have to pay for every token. So if I'm paying for 1 million tokens, what does that look like? So the best thing you can do from a strategy perspective is to leverage a lesser model, a smaller model, and have that smaller model allow you to plan and build out and even ask the question, what is the most efficient way for me to get this done in the model that I want to use? And then it will streamline the request, allowing you to copy and paste it into a much more sophisticated model. And then you can build it in a much more efficient way. But most people, as I mentioned, they vending machine this. They just go in to the most expensive model and they just ask for the thing they want. And that doesn't even, they build it and it's not even what they want, right? So now they end up spooling through multiple retries of trying to get what they want to build. So, yeah, the best thing you could do is start with a small, cheap model to help you refine your idea, have it generate for you a prompt you can use in a more expensive model to get a better
I
outcome.
love that. Start with small models, upgrade to big models once you have a better response. I'm
Yes.
curious, in this world now, what are you trying to figure out next with AI?
Right now, I work a lot with a lot of companies, especially small to medium sized companies. You know, not everybody, you and I are kind of in this little bubble of people who know AI. We kind of feel like there's this constant change, constant evolution. We feel this almost a little bit of FOMO, right? Fear of missing out if we don't use the latest technology. But that's like less than 1% of the world. Most of the world has no idea about artificial intelligence, doesn't realize the impact it can have on their business, on their teams, on their employees. And so I spent a lot of my time talking to organizations about that. So much so, in fact, that we built like an AI business accelerator that at my company, right? The job of it is to help companies realize sales, marketing, operations, it's all going to be refined through the use of artificial intelligence. And the companies that implement AI are going to be the ones that are able to reach their customers in a more specialized, localized way, right? I can be personalized to every single customer and build a much better customer experience, create better relationships, leveraging artificial intelligence to do that work. So many, I mean, just think about farmers, chiropractors, right? Like nail salons. Like these are organizations, and even more so like healthcare companies, right? Small healthcare companies, small banks. These are companies, if you go, they're not using AI yet. Many of them are using like their forms. They're like filling out paperwork. And so many of them haven't even been digitized yet. Some companies are just at the tail end of their digital journey and they haven't started their AI journey yet. And so I think what I'm excited about now is to just allow these companies to recognize not that there's an opportunity to get rid of their humans, which some companies are doing, right? But that there's actually an extremely exciting opportunity to amplify what the humans in their company are doing for themselves, like for the organization, and be able to allow them to do more. I was just, for example, I'm working with one of my clients, a five to $6 billion company, right? So not Fortune 100, but they're pretty big, $5 to $6 billion in revenue on a annual basis. And what they have uncovered is that they used to be a tech company. They used to be a software company. And now what they're realizing is that AI is helping them deliver that software without nearly as many engineers, right? So they can do that work with less. However, all those engineers are now being repurposed as advisors and consultants in the organization. And now they have a whole new part of their company that is talking to the human and helping the human use the software. So I call it solution architecture. It's one of the programs that we have at AI Leadership Institute. And like becoming an AI solution architect means that you're now going to be able to automate the development of of software, applications, mobile apps, systems inside companies. You're going to be able to do that with AI better, but it's going to create a gap between the user and how to use those systems. And now humans are going to be able to close that gap, and the best companies, the ones that are most successful, are the ones that are closing that gap with human connectivity and human relationships. We're seeing a lot of companies that are confused and they are getting rid of their humans and they're putting AI to talk to those people in the company. And when that happens, when you lose the trust of the humans trying to communicate to your company, to be your clients, you end up, when you lose their trust, you lose their business and it becomes detrimental to these organizations.
Wow, what you mentioned around human connection is very critical. And you creating that program about AI solution architecture, I've seen solution architect at Amazon, but
Yes.
creating that whole field about AI solution architect
Yes.
and training other leaders coming for AI solution architect, that's amazing.
Yes.
And uh,
Absolutely.
I feel like I was in a meeting where agents are talking to agents, and we are losing that human touch with
Yes.
making machines talk to each other. So it's a genuine reminder from this conversation to bring human back and make
Yes.
sure on those critical pieces have a AI solution architect who can be that bridge in connecting the pieces together.
Yes, exactly. And how important it is because we can let AI do these things, but we're the only people, like as the human in the loop, we're the only one who can say, AI, your job is to do this. And my job as the human is to do this. And I control the thresholds for how the AI operates. I control the measurement for whether or not the AI system is doing its job well. If you delegate, we call it over reliance. If you over rely on those systems will lose touch. It's called model drift, right? They will drift away from what is good, what is right, what is in alignment with our business needs. It is required that a human stays involved. And this is true with everything from autonomous vehicles, right? Like the Tesla. If you ride in a Tesla and it thinks that you have your hands off or like, sleeping, the Tesla will alert you and say, it'll kind of put you in, human in the loop jail and say, no, you have to stay active and engaged. And the reason why is because the AI will do its best job, but it, like a human, is flawed. As a matter of fact, it's an amplification of our human flaws. So the even a Tesla that's amazing and has amazing autonomous driving capability, it requires us to still keep our eye on the wheel, right? Keep our eye on where we're going. And it's a great analogy for every business use case is that you can use AI to help you go faster, to help you do things that you don't want to have to do, give you a little bit more freedom and time in your day. But at the end of the day, you need to keep your eye on the ball. You need to keep your eye on the wheel, on the road, and make sure that you ultimately, as the human, are in control and making those decisions.
Awesome. Thank you, Neil.
Things I am taking from this conversation. First, ask baby tiger questions before day 2. Second, least privilege isn't just security, it's leadership. Third, a symphony of talent means building for everyone, not just the people in the room. This is Agentic AI Execution. Until next time, stay curious, keep building, and bring someone along for the ride.